Welcome to Peak Alpha's Wisdom Series. Over the next few weeks, we will decode the various topics touched upon by our Finance Minister in the recently announced Union Budget 2021. In this week's topic, we will take you through how the Indian government plans to raise funds to meet its various expenditures. A government budget is a document prepared by the government enlisting its anticipated revenues, like income tax, corporate tax, etc., and proposed spending or expenditure, like healthcare, education, defense, etc., for the coming financial year. So, where does the government get the money for the funding of these expenses? Let's understand what the component of the various budget receipts are. The budget is broadly divided into revenue receipts and capital receipts. Revenue receipts are those receipts which neither create any liability nor cause any reduction in the assets of the government. They are non-recurring and non-routine in nature. For example, taxes received by the government, unlike borrowings, do not create any liabilities for it. These revenue receipts are further categorized as tax revenues and non-tax revenues. Capital receipts, on the other hand, receipts that create liabilities or reduce financial assets. Loans from public, foreign governments, and the Reserve Bank of India form a crucial part of capital receipts. This year, Ms. Nirmala Sitharaman will require 34.83 lakh crore rupees to meet the various demands. The Finance Minister estimates that they will receive 15% of their revenues from GST collections, 14% from income tax, 13% from corporate tax, 8% from union excise duty, 6% from non-tax revenues, 5% from non-debt capital receipts, and 3% from customs. However, the key point to note is that a large chunk of this money, that is 36% of total revenue, is coming from government borrowings. 36% amounts to 12 lakh crore. Why is that the government is planning for high borrowing this year? Has this been a historical trend, or is this unusual? The following chart illustrates that most of the revenues for the government has come down compared to the financial year 2019. Income tax collections have dropped. Corporate tax have come down too. So has the other revenues. In a year when the taxes have come down, the expenses have risen owing to the pandemic. This difference between the income and the expenses for the government is known as fiscal deficit. India's fiscal deficit for the ongoing financial year will be the highest since at least liberalization in 1991. The country's fiscal deficit settled at 9.5% in 2020-21 and will be targeted at 6.8% in 2021-22. How does the government plan to fund this deficit? What are the various options? Raise taxes or to borrow? Therefore, going into the budget, there were speculations that the government is going to resort to the income tax hikes to fund its various expenses. The most important thing to keep in mind is that the government makes such key decisions keeping the state of the economy in mind. Remember, even before the pandemic hit our nation, India was already on a downward spiral. All the key economic indicators showed a sign of downturn. Even before the COVID-19 outbreak, which led to a shutdown of the economy and made way for the worst contraction of India's GDP in decades in the April-June quarter. The economy was already witnessing a slowdown, decelerating GDP growth, significant decrease in industrial output, fall in tax revenues, and a massive reduction in power demand were all recorded well before the impact of the lockdown hit us. GDP growth has been on constant downward slope since financial year 2017 and slowed to an 11-year low of 3.1% in Q4 financial year 2020. GDP had halved from 2017 to 2019 From 8% in 2016, it had come down to almost 4% by financial year 2020. The key sectors like manufacturing, service, and construction were signaling a red flag. Consumer spending and investment, which reflects to the mood of the economy, was also down. And then the pandemic hit us. An estimated 120 million lost their jobs, and unemployment soared to 27%, which is the highest ever. Millions of destitute migrant workers had no options but to literally walk home. This was the worst dramatic migration since India's partition in 1947. GDP contracted by nearly 24%. Given the background, the government did not have the option of raising the taxes. Given that the country was already reeling under so much pain, it would be unwise if the government decided to raise taxes. Hence, it resorted to its second option, borrowing. As the name suggests, when the government takes a loan to fund its requirements, it is called as government borrowing. Government borrowings fall under capital receipts in the budget document. Government borrows through issue of government securities called G-Secs and treasury bills. Why does the government have to fret so much to borrow? What are the repercussions of high borrowing? Bulk of government's fiscal deficit comes from its interest obligations on past debt. If the government resorts to large borrowings, more than what it had projected, then its interest costs also go up, risking higher fiscal deficit. That hurts government's finances. Larger borrowing programs means that the public debt will go up, and especially at a time when the GDP growth is subdued, it will lead to a higher debt to GDP ratio. As borrowing increases, the government must pay more interest rate payments on those who hold bonds. This can lead to a greater percentage of tax revenues going to debt interest payments. In some circumstances, higher borrowing can also push up interest rates because markets are nervous about government's ability to repay. If the debt to GDP rises rapidly, the government may need to reduce debt levels in the future. It means future budgets will need to increase taxes and or limit spending. The danger is that if taxes are increased too early too quickly, it could snuff out the recovery and cause a further downturn. But if they do not raise taxes, markets may be alarmed at the size of the borrowing. High government borrowing can cause difficult choices for future governments. It is a difficult situation to be in. There are two principal economic sectors, the public sector and the private sector. Their interactions can be fruitful, leading to economic growth, but they can also have a negative impact on one another. Principally, the crowding out theory suggests that an increase in public sector spending will reduce investment and the other forms of spending in the private sector. One of the most notable forms of crowding out occurs when the government borrows more money than usual. With increased government borrowing, interest rates grow, and as interest rates grow, private investments can drastically drop. Hope you found this video useful. Let us know if you would like us to decode any other topic for you. We would be delighted to hear from you. Thank you.